Akio listeners, let's learn Sumo. Welcome to day 4 and 5 of the Natsu Basho in May in Tokyo at the Kokugikan. I'm Clayton, welcome to the podcast. Don't forget to join me on Apple. Hit subscribe on your podcasting streaming service or join me on YouTube. Hit like if you do. Drop me a comment on any of my socials or on YouTube. I usually reply. There is a lot to get through in day 4 and 5. Let's get to it. Well, Ura doing some different, aggressive, front-on sumo, not so many acrobats, and he, as a result, at Megashira 4, basically leads the Basho with 5 wins, no losses. 3-time Yusho winner Mitakeyumi has found some form. He is a former Ozeki. He's also won 3 tournaments and a number of trophies. He is also on 5 wins at Megashira 7. And one of our old stagers, Takara Fuji, who's coming back up after a bit of time down the ranks. He's chasing his first Yusho after some 1,200 bouts. He's on 5 wins also at Megashira 16. A couple of close shaves for Koto Zakura and Hoshoryu on day 4. Our Sanyaku after day 5, well, still a bit sketchy. Koto Zakura, Daisho Onosato on 4 wins. Hoshoryu, Wakamoto Haru, and I think Avi on 3. Kirishima languishing on 1. We'll get to that a little bit later. Let's get through some of the bouts. Day 4, our joint leader on day 4, Takara Fuji. He easily dealt with Tomokaze. Tomokaze came out with a thrusting attack, and Takara Fuji retreated a bit slowly, then pulled back for a Takikomi slapdown. Roga pulled a dirty hanker on the bronze Ryuden for a Tsukiyatoshi diagonal body pushdown as he sidestepped at the Tachiai. The unlucky debutante Toki Hayate, he went Oshidashi to Mitoryu as he got into a belt grip with a very much larger man. He tried to execute a Shitatanage underarm throw a few times. It was a bit unsuccessful. He's a big man to try and throw. Mitoryu, he helped him out with his last attempt and left Toki Hayate still winless. Tsurunomi took out Oshomo, one of our leaders, for his first loss in Makuchi. Hikiyatoshi arm pull down. Solid sumo by Ichiyamomoto to thrust Nishiki Fuji out from the Tachiai. Just good movement, good thrusting. 2 wins for Ichiyamomoto. Strong Tachiai by Hokuto Fuji, followed by some pretty good Nodowa neck thrust to keep up the pressure as Shononumi retreated. And he almost got a Hataki Komi on Hokuto Fuji as he went forward unbalanced. Saved himself, but Hokuto Fuji, he just couldn't recover his balance, and he ended up being chased around and slapped down Oshi Tayoshi, body pushed down in the end. More that Hokuto Fuji probably helped himself to the clay, really, though. That got 4 wins for Shononumi. Sadanumi, he got a Yori Tayoshi driving force down on Tamawashi as Tamawashi retreated in a bit of a short belt battle, 2 apiece there. Shodai, he helped his score to 2 wins after a short battle with Kinbozan. It was a pretty good hit and both tried to get a belt or a body grip. Shodai, he went back to the bales and he somehow danced across the Tawara bales as he pulled Kinbozan around. Tsukiyatoshi body diagonal force down, but to be honest, Kinbozan stayed up, so it probably should have been an Oshidashi or a Tsukidashi, really. Anyway, moving on. Onosho versus Mitakeyumi. Look, this day 4 match is probably one to watch. They both finished this match in the first row, cleaning up the Shinpan judge and themselves. Bit of a spectacular fall off the dohyo. I think Onosho came off worse, losing and landing heavily. Look, both really big men, really good touchy-eye, a bit of a struggle for dominance, but neither seemed interested in a belt grip. Mitakeyumi was going for a neck thrust, but he's also looking for a bit of an upper body grip. He finally got a right inside grip and Onosho a left outside grip. Back at the bales, they both went for the belt throw. Mitakeyumi won the contest with the Shitatanage inside arm belt throw, but if you watch the replay, he actually helped it by getting a little kick on Onosho to turn him over, and both men dumped hard into the Shimpan judge. Onosho took a fair bit of time to get up here. He was kind of laying down for a bit, and then when he did get up, he kind of rested his head on the side of the ring. The Yobadashi obviously checked on him, and he said, "No, I'm fine." I think maybe just a bit winded and bashed about. Nothing serious. He didn't limp off or anything. Mitakayumi, that kept him on 4 wins. Meisei, next fight, got a relatively easy Okurudashi on Nishikigi as he disengaged and went behind him for a bit of a push. Meisei doing okay on 3 wins. One of our other leaders, Ura, beats Midori Fuji. Oshidashi. So starting off, Ura took a long time to put his hands down, and not so much a balk, but just, I think Midori Fuji get a little bit ahead of himself. 2 matas, false starts by Midori Fuji. Anyway, in the end, Midori Fuji waited for Ura to put his hands down, and then Midori Fuji put his hands down. Look, they locked up with a really quite low tachi-ai from Midori Fuji. He was pushing Ura's neck. Ura wrestled Midori Fuji back, one hand at the back of his neck and one on Midori Fuji's shoulder. And once in position, he finished it off with a good push. And Midori Fuji went out. Okuridashi, 4-0 on day 4 for Ura. Midori Fuji, 2-2. Not doing badly, not doing well. Tobizaru got a good, easy win on Oho. Okuridashi as well. Onosato into our Sanyako ranks. Komusubi, Shin Komusubi, new Komusubi. Onosato beats Wakamoto Haru. Our Sekiwake, Sukiyotoshi. So Onosato went pretty hard with the thrusting attack from the tachi-ai. He tried to lift Wakamoto Haru's centre of gravity up. You could see that's what he was trying to do to stand him up. Wakamoto Haru was going backwards. He knew he was being stood up, and he went for a double grip in his usual position on the belt. And he used it to force Onosato back, get a little bit of control back. But as Onosato goes back to the bales, he pretty much pulled off a Hoshoryu and turned Wakamoto Haru across his body for a diagonal pull down. Sukiyotoshi win at the bales. Onosato is the real deal. Tamifuji next up against Abi. Well, something happened to Tachi-ai here, and he went in hard, very low, and pretty much Abi got a hand on his belt and he went straight down. It's just too low, maybe slipped a little bit. Anyway, Atami Fuji was down a Watanage to Abi. Next up, our Ozeki, Karaban Ozeki Kirishima versus Magashira, 1 Daisho for Sekiwake. Look, Daisho beats Kirishima, but I think the new headline should be Kirishima does everything to lose match to Daisho. Look, he had Daisho under pressure and he was actually going quite well. He had some good movement, some good balance. He restricted Daisho's thrusting by getting in hard up to his body. He backed up and pulled Daisho through. And Daisho looked in all sorts of trouble, like he was about to go out and looked like he thought he'd done the job. So Kirishima said, "Oh, well, that's it. I'm finished now." And he turned around. Daisho had skipped across the bales, recovered, wrapped his feet over them, didn't touch the dirt the other side. And it was all too late for Kirishima as he realised he couldn't get back around fast enough to finish him off. The fight was back on. Daisho got his balance back. He put Kirishima under some thrusting pressure for a relatively simple Oshidashi push-out. Kirishima beat himself, basically. Really, again, poor sumo. Kotazakura up against Gonoyama. Look, as a big hit. Gonoyama is a big hitter at the tachi-ai. He drove in hard to our big pillow man, the human pillow, and Gonoyama bounced off. He had no real effect. Kotazakura is a big man. He does have a lot of padding. Kotazakura went for the belt, but he kind of had it, then he lost it. Gonoyama charged again, had another go at it. Kotazakura got a bit of a neck grip and grabbed Gonoyama's belt to help him go out forward. Watanage, another win. And to probably the fight of the night, probably because of the way it finished more than anything, a little bit of a comedy of errors. Shoryu versus Hirodumi. It's a really big hit by Hirodumi. They both got a really big, strong body grip, and you know how thick Hoshoryu's body is. Big core strength, lots of muscle. He did try to lift Hirodumi over with the body, using his leg to lift Hirodumi's leg up from the inside. Hiradumi did well to prevent that happening. He's got pretty good balance. He's a low centre of gravity. Hoshoryu then got an inside belt. Hiradumi got an outside belt, and they went back to the bales as they wrestled about. Hoshoryu tried to pull him over Shitatanage with the belt, but Hiradumi resisted again. He's got some really good low balance. He tried to roll him over again, but Hiradumi did well to stay up a third time. They went back to the bales, but as they did, the Gyoji judge, Shinosuke, tripped over Hiradumi's retreating leg, and the judge went face down into the dirt. The standby judge at the side, he stood up just in case he needed to jump up and adjudicate. Hoshoryu kept up the pressure, goes forward, standing on the Gyoji's Hakama pants, so the judge trips and goes down face down again. Hoshoryu then rolls Hiradumi over the bales for the win. The Gyoji, Shinosuke, laying in the dirt, points the gunbai for Hoshoryu's win. That's how you do it. Anyway, that brought up the end of day 4. It was a pretty good match. Go and watch that replay, worth a watch. Day 5, moving on to tonight's fights. Takara Fuji, one of our joint leaders, beats Juryo Man Dai Mami, who's come up for the night. Yorikiri, a little bit of a belt grip battle, but pretty easy win, Yorikiri there for Takara Fuji. He now sits as joint leader on 5 wins. Tsurugisho, he lost easily. He's not got a lot of push forward when push comes to shove. Ryuden got an easy Yorikiri win over Tomokaze. That gets him to 4 wins. Poor old Tomokaze, he's still winless. It was a pretty easy win in the end. Toki Hayate, our debutant, well, look, he got his first win tonight over Tsurunomi. Showed a little bit of patience to get him Yorikiri. He did get onto the belt. He used his body well. He had pretty good balance for the Yorikiri push-out, but he did have to work for it, though. It wasn't an easy one. That gets him off to a start. Anyway, next fight, Oshoma versus Mitoryu. A little bit of a belt grip battle, and Oshoma gets that win over Mitoryu for 1. Next up, Hokuto Fuji versus Nishiki Fuji. Easy thrusting win there for Hokuto Fuji. But I did notice at the end of that match, Hokuto Fuji looked like he was favouring a knee. That's not a good sign. Anyway, let's see how he turns out tomorrow. He does have some knee issues. Ichi Yamamoto versus Sadanumi. Sadanumi on 4 wins. Pretty good touchy-eye by Ichi Yamamoto to get in low. He used his pushing to stand Sadanumi up and force him back over the bales. Oshidashi, that gets Sadanumi his first loss, takes him out of the lead. 4-1. Ichi Yamamoto doing okay, 3-2. Sadanumi easily Yorikiri'd Shodai. Shodai really didn't offer much to Sadanumi's body grip, to be honest. Pretty poor effort there. Karashoho versus Kimbozan. Look, both of these guys have been fairly impressive in the last 2 tournaments. Karashoho's certainly coming along. Kimbozan, he's got some good resilience and some good strength. Look, they're both very big men. They've both got a big long reach, big long arms. Got into a bit of a thrusting battle. Karashoho, he withdrew and almost gets Kimbozan going down forward, Takikomi. But Kimbozan recovered, and Kimbozan kept up the pressure, but Karashoho kept up the pressure, on Kimbozan, and Kimbozan stepped out backwards. Oshidashi, in the end, was the Kimarite. Unlucky. Takanosho beats Tamawashi. Good touchy eye. Bit of struggle. Ends with Tamawashi using a static Norua. In other words, he was holding one hand on Takanosho by the throat for quite a deal of time and a fair bit of pressure. You've got to be a bit careful there. That's one of the forbidden moves, is to try and strangle your opponent. It's probably very close to that. Anyway, until they got to go back to the bales with Tamawashi holding Takanosho by the throat. But at the last moment, Takanosho twisted away and Tamawashi was a little bit overcommitted and he went over the bales with a little bit of help. Tsukiyatoshi diagonal thrust down. Good win there by Takanosho. Mitakayumi goes 5-0. Good bout with Meisei, both ending in a one-handed grip. Meisei tried a number of things to upset Mitakayumi during the match. Mitakayumi defended all comers, really. Finally taking Meisei off balance for a Yorikiri. It was a pretty good match, that one. Onosho versus Midori Fuji. Midori Fuji is still going for this Oshizumo. And I've heard it suggested that now that Hakuho is in the stable, maybe he's trying some different things, a little bit of different coaching. Onosho pretty much beat him in a straight-up battle. Midori Fuji, went in hard, and he couldn't or didn't want to try a Karatsukashi. He kind of had the position there. He had his hand up under the shoulder at one point. Once he got to the bails, he didn't have time for a Tsukiotoshi diagonal push down. He was going backwards at too fast a rate, and Onosho takes the win. Yorakiri. Ura goes up against Nishikigi. Nishikigi's not been doing so well in this tournament. It's a pretty good low touchy eye by Ura. He's not given up that Greco-Roman style just yet. Ura gets a double body grip as Nishikigi locked up his arms and tried to pull Ura around his body, probably more uchari, where they pull him around and twist. Ura resisted, which he actually did quite well to resist that pull around. He retreated with one hand under the shoulder, one hand on the back of Nishikigi's neck, and pulled him down for a Karatsukashi under shoulder swing down to keep himself in the lead at 5-0. Look, Ura's been very impressive this tournament so far, and to be honest, I think even in the last tournament, he was fairly impressive and, like I said, a little bit unlucky at times. And I think that flare style sometimes doesn't leave him in good positions. And I think his movement to this more stable, simple sumo techniques has done him the world of good so far. And it's paying dividends, so 5-0. That's his best start of a tournament since back in Juryo days, I think, a long time ago. Anyway, Oho up against Hiradumi. It was a big hit, as always, with Hiradumi. Goes for an upper grab and tries to a head-twisting pull down both ways, but he ends up off balance. Oho kept up the pressure and drove Hiradumi back and over the bails for an Oshidashi push-out. Daisho up against our Sekiwake Abi, demoting the rank. He's coming along to Sekiwake now. So Daisho absorbed some pretty serious thrusting and nodowas from Abi after the tachioi, and he got Abi backwards to the bails, and once he was there, a couple of thrusts, and Abi stood there and he couldn't believe he was out. He was like, well, hang on, what happened? Tsukidashi thrust out, good win by Daisho, a little bit of quality there from Daisho, seems to be coming back to his form. Wakamoto Haru versus our man Atomic Atami Fuji. Big grip by both of them as Atami Fuji tried to keep Wakamoto Haru from his favourite double grip. Wakamoto Haru drove Atami Fuji back, gets him up on one leg for a big throwdown. Watanage, it was quite a forceful, you're going down, my friend, hit the dirt. And he did. That helps Wakamoto Haru along in the score. Hoshoryu up against his staring partner, if you remember that from a few tournaments ago. Hoshoryu got himself in a little bit of trouble in a staring match with Goniyama. There's a big fast hit by Goniyama, which was obviously met by Hoshoryu. Hoshoryu takes the hit, gets a high body grip on Goniyama, controlling his armpit. He set his feet and just drove Goniyama back into the third row, into the crowd. He went tumbling. Good win by Hoshoryu, very dominant win. Kirishima versus Onosato, our Komusubi. This is their first meeting. Would he withstand a big hit from Onosato? Now, Kirishima is not a small man. A friend of mine had a photo taken with Kirishima after he won the Yusho last year. And my friend is a bit over 6 foot, and Kirishima standing next to him was a very large man. Kirishima, he went straight for the front belt grip. He wanted to get a hold. Onosato went for a bit of a rear grip. They moved towards the bails, and as Kirishima went across the bails, Onosato pushing hard, but he jumped over the bails as Kirishima goes over. Gee, it was close to call. It was hard to tell who touched first. Anyway, they had a judges' mono-e, a judges' conference, and funnily enough, the Gunbai gave the match to Onosato, and judges had a chat and confirmed that Onosato won it. Yori Teoshi drive down at the edge. Look, interestingly, if you watch the replay, it's very hard to tell who went out first. You could almost say they were both dead body going over the bails. Interestingly, I kind of slow motioned it and paused it and looked again, and Kirishima's foot seemed to turn over just as he went through the bails. Now, we know the rules of sumo. You can only touch the ring with the soles of your feet. That may have been the determining factor there. Either way, they gave it to Onosato for the win. A little bit unlucky there from Kirishima. Next up, Kotozakura up against Tobizaru. Tobizaru goes in really low at the touchy eye, very Ura style. Kotozakura tries to lock his arm up. Tobizaru pushed him away, but Kotozakura got Tobizaru coming forward, almost got him Hataki Komi. And as Tobizaru recovered, that allowed Kotozakura to get a grip on, a very deep rear grip on one strand of Tobizaru's belt. So he drives Tobizaru back to the bales and stands him up, moves him over the bales Yorakiri, but it does look like Kotozakura stepped out as he held Tobizaru from going flying into the crowd. No mono-e. Tobizaru, people probably thought Tobizaru got a little bit robbed there because it looked like Kotozakura touched down first. And in fact, he did. However, if you go back and look, Tobizaru was going backwards. There's two reasons here that the judges could have allowed Kotozakura to continue to keep the win in this match. Firstly, let's remember we've had the episode on Shinatai or dead body rule. Tobizaru is going backwards, and before Kotozakura can do anything, has touched down, Tobizaru is well out of the ring. He's in an unrecoverable position. He is the defensive person going backwards and cannot recover. Kotozakura, being the aggressor, is still within the ring. And even when he touches down just outside the ring, Tobizaru is already past that point. Even though he may have been touching the outside of the Tawara, there was no way for him to continue to win. There is also another rule there where even though the winning wrestler, the winning rikishi, touches down first, if they are seen to be protecting the other wrestler from injury in terms of going out, they still win even though they might touch down first. And the idea is they protect the other wrestler from being hurt, but they sacrifice themselves by putting down the hand or foot first. In order to stop that, then the judges will continue to allow the aggressor, the one who is obviously going to win, to keep that win. It's one of those two situations there. It's very clear in the video that Kotozakura actually touches outside the ring first. I would probably say that they adjudged that Tobizaru was Shinatai or dead body, given that he was going backwards at a fast rate of knots and had no way to recover from that position. Either way, they gave the win to Kotozakura. I'll put that screenshot up on my Twitter and Instagram later on. So that got us through day five. So that leaves Ura, Mitakayumi and Takara Fuji on 5 wins. Ura, geez, I'd like to see him win. Mitakayumi, he's going for his third or fourth win of a Yusho here. I think 4th win. Takara Fuji looking for his first. On 4 wins, Kotozakura, our Ozeki. Onosato, our Shin Komusubi. Megashira 1, Daisho, Megashira's Shonanumi, Oshoma and Ryuden, all on 4 wins. Our other Senyaku, Wakamoto Haru, Hoshoryu and Abi on 3 wins. Kirishima languishing on 1. So, moving into day 6 of the Basho. Day 6 should have a couple of interesting fights. Let's just go through some of the main ones. Takara Fuji on our 5-win man, on joint leader at Magashira 16. He's up against Oshoma, who's 4-1. They've met once before. Oshoma has won that one. Next up, Ichi Yamamoto. He is up against our debutant Toki Hayate. Ichi Yamamoto should win that fairly easily. Shonanumi should account for Nishiki Fuji. 3-1 to Nishiki Fuji there, but I still think Shonanumi should win that. Up the ranks a little bit, Sadanumi up against Kotoshoho. That should be a pretty good match. Big men. Midori Fuji up against Meisei. That will be interesting. I would think that Meisei's in pretty good form. Midori Fuji fighting well, going hard with his Oshi Sumo frontal push. Match of the night. Mitakayumi versus Ura, both on 5-0. Mitakayumi holds that record 7-2 against Ura. He's obviously a bigger man. That is our fight of the night, I would think. Atami Fuji up against Gonoyama. Atami Fuji has that 3-0. Wakamoto Haru, Sekiwake versus Daisho. Megashira won, they fought many times before. Pretty evenly matched, 5-6 to Daisho there. Hiradumi versus Abe. Ono Sato, 4-1 versus Koto Zakura, 4-1. So Koto Zakura holds that record, 2-0. Hoshoryu, and funnily enough, Tobizaru, they have an extensive record. Hoshoryu holds that record 12-9 against Tobizaru in previous fights. It's not going to be easy for Shoryu there. Tobizaru is a difficult customer. He does knock off the Senyaku here and there. And our poor old Ozeki Kataban Kirishima, 1-4. He gets a bit of an easy match tomorrow night. Oho at 1-4. They've met once before, and Kirishima has that record. So that's it. I hope you can join me again after day 7, day 8. We'll come back and have another review. Should be an interesting, let's see where the cream rises. Can Ura and Mitakayumi keep it going? Takara Fuji, he's getting a bit of an easy time down the bottom of the Buns Cave, but if he gets to about 7 or 8 wins, he will shoot up and fight some of the Sanyaku very quickly. That's it for tonight. Join me again. Hakyo listeners, let's learn sumo.